The rain pelted against my face as I watched them dump my life's work onto the curb. 8 years of sketches, paintings, and dreams tossed out like yesterday's garbage. My ex-husband, Xavier, stood there with his perfect hair getting wet, while his mother, Edith, directed the destruction with her signature sneer. "Worthless scribbles," Edith declared, kicking one of my portfolios into a puddle. "The house needs to be cleared of all this clutter before the charity gala next week. My name is Marissa, and until yesterday, I thought rock bottom was signing those divorce papers. I was wrong." "Mommy?" My daughter Olivia tugged at my sleeve, her small face pinched with worry. "Why are they throwing away your pictures?" I squeezed her hand, forcing myself to stay calm. "It's okay, sweetheart. We'll get them back." "Don't you dare," Xavier warned, stepping between me and the growing pile of art supplies. "These were purchased during our marriage. They belong to the estate now." I met his gaze. "The judge specifically listed my personal effects." "Personal effects, yes," Edith cut in. "Not this juvenile hobby nonsense. Really, Marissa, it's time to grow up. Focus on something useful, like ensuring Olivia maintains proper connections to her father's social circle." Thunder cracked overhead. I watched raindrops destroy years of watercolors, but it was one particular sketchbook that made my heart race. The blue one. The one where I'd started documenting everything. "At least let me take my supplies," I said quietly. "The paints, brushes." "Oh, for heaven's sake," Edith sighed dramatically. "Xavier, give her the craft supplies if it'll make her leave faster. But the portfolios stay. God knows she'll probably try selling them now that She wrinkled her nose. "Working class." Xavier waved his hand dismissively. "Take whatever you want from the curb, but do it now. The garbage pickup is in an hour." I waited until they went inside before rushing to salvage what I could. Olivia helped me, her small hands gathering wet brushes and tubes of paint. "Your grandmother's mean," she whispered. "She's scared, baby," I replied, carefully extracting the blue sketchbook from under a soaked canvas. "Mean people usually are." "Scared of what?" I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She had Xavier's dark hair, but my eyes, my artistic sensitivity, my ability to see what others missed. "Scared of the truth," I said, tucking the sketchbook into my coat. "Sometimes people hide bad things in beautiful places, and sometimes the only way to expose those things is to wait until everyone's ready to see them." A car pulled up, and my best friend Zara jumped out with an umbrella and empty boxes. "I came as soon as you called," she said, helping us gather the remaining supplies. "Those absolute monsters. I'm adding this to the appeal." "No," I said firmly, watching Olivia load her arms with paintbrushes. "Let them think they've won. Let them think this broke me." Zara's eyes narrowed. "What are you planning?" I picked up a partially destroyed painting, one of the Morgan family estate. In it, I'd hidden the routing numbers to their offshore accounts in the window patterns, numbers I'd overheard during late-night phone calls, transactions disguised as charitable donations. "I'm planning to paint," I said simply, "but this time everyone will see my work." "Will they, Mommy?" Olivia asked, hope shining in her eyes. "Will anyone ever see your pictures?" I touched the blue sketchbook through my coat, feeling its damp weight like a promise. "Yes, baby. When the time is right, everyone will see exactly what I've been drawing all these years." We loaded everything we could salvage into Zara's car. As we drove away, I watched the Morgan estate disappear in the rearview mirror. The rain had stopped, and a weak sun was breaking through the clouds. "Where are we going?" Olivia asked. "To my studio," Zara answered. "Your mom can work there until we find you both a new place." I nodded, already mentally cataloging which pieces I'd saved and which were lost. But the most important ones, the ones with the evidence, were safe. My hands might have been empty, but my mind was full of images, of numbers, of proof. They thought they were throwing away worthless art. They didn't realize they were destroying evidence, but that was okay. I would recreate every piece, every hidden detail, every damning truth. And this time, I'd make them beautiful enough to hang in museums. Let them think they'd silence me. Art, after all, speaks louder than words, and I had so much to say. Miss Shelton, your work is extraordinary, Audrey gushed, her curator's badge catching the gallery lights. The way you layer meaning into each piece, it's unlike anything I've seen. 5 years had transformed my life completely. My latest exhibition in Tokyo had sold out in hours. Paris collectors were begging for commissions. And now, the Whitney East Museum wanted a retrospective. The coded elements are what fascinate me most, Audrey continued, gesturing to my newest piece, a sprawling canvas of interwoven geometric patterns. Critics keep finding new meanings, new symbols. I smiled, sipping my champagne. Art means different things to different people. That's exactly why we want to showcase your evolution as an artist, especially your early works. Audrey leaned forward eagerly. Those first sketchbooks you mentioned, the ones from before your divorce, they'd be perfect for showing your journey. My hand tightened on the glass. Those pieces are personal. Exactly. That's what makes them so valuable to the exhibition. Raw emotion, unfiltered creativity. My phone buzzed. A text from Zara. Federal agents requesting meeting. Tomorrow. Important. I'll need to think about it, I told Audrey. Those works are in storage. Of course. Take your time. The retrospective opens in 3 months. Later that night, I drove to the climate-controlled storage unit where I kept my old works. Philip, my private investigator friend, met me there. The Morgans are getting sloppy, he said, helping me lift the heavy box of sketchbooks. Their latest charitable foundation raised red flags with the IRS. After all these years, I set the box down, started counting books. They usually cover their tracks better. People get comfortable, make mistakes. Speaking of, he nodded at the box. How's our insurance policy? I froze. One sketchbook was missing, the red one containing detailed drawings of the Morgan family's shell company structure hidden in landscapes of their summer properties. Someone's been here, I whispered. Philip immediately swept the unit with a small device. No active surveillance. When was the last time you checked these? 6 months ago. Everything was... My phone rang. Olivia's school. Ms. Shelton? Olivia's grandmother is here to pick her up. My blood ran cold. I never authorized that. She has documentation. Do not let her take my daughter. I'm calling the police. I hung up and dialed 911 while running to my car. Philip right behind me. The Morgans are making moves, he said grimly. This isn't coincidence. 20 minutes later, I burst into the school office. Edith stood there in designer clothes, radiating false concern. Darling, I was just trying to surprise Olivia with... Get away from my daughter, I said quietly. 2 police officers entered behind me. Olivia ran to me, burying her face in my side. I told them no, Mom, just like you said. Ma'am, one officer addressed Edith, your documentation appears to be falsified. Edith's mask slipped for just a second. A simple misunderstanding. I only wanted to treat my granddaughter. Your granddaughter has a protection order against you, Zara announced, striding in with papers, which you just violated. After the officers escorted Edith out, Olivia looked up at me. Is it starting again? I hugged her tight. No, baby. It's ending. They're just too desperate to see it yet. That night, after Olivia was asleep, Zara and Philip came over to strategize. The missing sketchbook, Zara said, pacing. Could they have figured out the codes? Doubtful, Philip replied. Marissa's system is too complex. But they might suspect. My phone chimed. An email from Audrey. Exciting news. Our forensics team would love to analyze your early works. The layering techniques you used are groundbreaking. Perfect timing, I murmured. What are you thinking? Zara asked. I opened my laptop, pulled up images of my recent works. The same coding system, refined and elevated. Evidence hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right people to decode it. I'm thinking it's time to let the art world do what it does best, analyze everything until there's nothing left to hide. I looked at my friends. The Morgans just showed their hand. They're scared. Good, Philip said. Scared people make mistakes. Like trying to kidnap my daughter. My voice hardened. I've waited 5 years, built my reputation, made my art impossible to ignore. And now? Zara asked. I pulled out my phone and typed a response to Audrey. I would be honored to have my early works examined. When can we start? Now, I said, hitting send. We let the truth paint itself. But as I stared at the empty spot in the box where the red sketchbook should have been, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone else was already connecting the dots. Someone who knew exactly what they were looking for. Mommy, look what I found in Daddy's old study. Olivia waved a familiar leather-bound book. My heart stopped. It was one of my earliest sketchbooks, not the missing red one, but dangerous enough. We were at the Morgan estate for the first time in years, a family reconciliation meeting that Xavier had insisted on. I'd only agreed because Zara was waiting outside in her car, ready to call the police if we didn't check in every 30 minutes. Sweetheart, put that back, I said carefully, watching Edith's sharp eyes track my daughter's movements. But the drawings are so pretty. Olivia opened the book. Look, there's one of the beach house in Bermuda. Edith's teacup clinked against its saucer. That property wasn't supposed to exist on paper. Such fond memories, Edith said smoothly, but I caught the tension in her shoulders. Though I don't recall you ever visiting that house, Marissa. Xavier showed me photos, I replied. Many photos and documents, and overheard phone calls about money being moved through that property. Xavier entered the room, looking exactly as handsome and polished as he had 5 years ago. Olivia, Princess, are you looking at Mommy's old art? The patterns are like codes. Olivia traced the intricate lines I'd drawn around the beach house windows. Each line represented a transaction date. Just like in Mom's new paintings. Xavier's smile flickered. Your mother always did have a unique perspective. Speaking of perspective, Edith cut in, I hear the Whitney East is planning quite the showcase of your work, Marissa. Funny how art comes full circle. Just like karma, darling. The threat in her voice was clear. I reached for my phone to text Zara our safety word, but Xavier stepped closer. We've been following your career, he said. Very impressive, though I have to wonder where you got some of your inspiration. Natural talent, I said, standing up. Something you never believed in. Olivia, it's time to go. But Daddy said we could have ice cream. Another time, sweetheart. I held out my hand. We have that thing at the gallery, remember? Edith rose, blocking our path. You know, I've been studying your recent pieces, the geometric series. Such fascinating number patterns, almost like bank accounts, I finished for her. Transaction codes? Is that what you're trying to say, Edith? Her face went white. Xavier stepped forward, but I held up my phone. Zara's outside. One text and she calls the police about the protection order violation. You wouldn't dare, Edith hissed. Not with what we have on you. I laughed. What? The missing sketchbook? Go ahead. Show it to everyone. I'm sure the art world would love to analyze it alongside my other work. Mom? Olivia's voice was small. What's happening? I softened my tone. Nothing, baby. Grown-up stuff. Let's go get that ice cream somewhere else. As we turned to leave, Xavier grabbed my arm. Whatever you think you know, I know everything, I whispered. Every transaction, every shell company, every charitable donation that disappeared into offshore accounts. I watched you for 8 years, Xavier, and I drew everything. He released me like I'd burned him. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your company's stock tomorrow. Someone anonymous sent some interesting documents to the SEC last week. Edith's face turned from white to red. You little... Careful, I warned. Your granddaughter is watching, and she's old enough now to remember every word. I took Olivia's hand and walked out, my heart pounding, but my steps steady. In the car, Zara was already on the phone with our legal team. Did you really send documents to the SEC? She asked after hanging up. No, I smiled. But they'll spend all night trying to figure out what might have leaked. And tomorrow, the forensics team starts analyzing your early works at the Whitney, Zara finished, including that beach house sketch Olivia just reminded them about. In the back seat, Olivia was quiet. Mom, are we in trouble? I turned to face her. No, baby. But remember how I told you sometimes people hide bad things in beautiful places? Well, sometimes the people hiding things forget to look closely at the art on their own walls. Like the painting of the beach house in Daddy's study? Exactly. I reached back and squeezed her hand. You know what the best part is? I painted a new version of that house last year. It's hanging in the National Gallery now, and soon everyone's going to notice how similar they are. Zara's phone buzzed, a news alert about possible fraud investigations into the Morgan Family Foundation. It's starting, she said. I nodded, watching the Morgan estate disappear in the rearview mirror. No, it's ending. They just don't know it yet. But as we drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere, someone was already piecing together my coded confessions. The only question was, would they reveal the truth to save the Morgans, or to destroy them? Mom, look what I made! Olivia held up a drawing, beaming with pride. My blood froze. She'd used one of my old stencils, the one I'd hidden patterns in, the one containing encrypted passwords to Xavier's hidden files. Where did you find that stencil, sweetheart? I kept my voice calm while texting Philip under the table. In your old art box. The patterns are so pretty. She pointed to the interlocking shapes. See? The numbers make flowers. Those weren't flowers. They were account numbers, dates, and routing codes I documented after discovering Xavier's laptop open one night. My phone buzzed. Philip. Morgan Foundation under scrutiny. Board members resigning. Xavier making large withdrawals. That's beautiful, honey, I said, carefully taking the stencil. But these are special tools for my museum work. Let's get you some new ones. The doorbell rang. Audrey stood there, practically vibrating with excitement. You have to see this, she burst out, rushing to set up her laptop. The forensics team found something extraordinary in your early works. My stomach tightened. Oh? The layering technique you used. It's not random at all. There are patterns, mathematical sequences. Look. She pulled up detailed scans of my old sketches. These numbers in the background, they follow specific banking protocols. How fascinating, I managed. That's not all. She lowered her voice. Some of these sequences match recently revealed offshore accounts in a major fraud investigation. The timing, the locations. It's incredible. My phone buzzed again. Zara, turn on the news now. I flipped on the TV. A reporter stood outside the Morgan Foundation headquarters. Sources say multiple board members have been served with federal subpoenas regarding allegations of charitable fraud. Oh my God, Audrey whispered, looking between the TV and my artwork. Did you know? Before I could answer, Olivia called from her room. Mom, Grandma Edith is calling me. I ran to her room, snatching the phone. How did you get this number? You think you're so clever, Edith snarled. Using your little drawings to destroy us? We made you. No, I said quietly. You broke me, then got careless enough to let me put myself back together. We'll sue you for corporate espionage, for theft of what, Edith? The evidence you illegally destroyed? The files you thought no one copied? Check your security footage from 8 years ago. I wasn't just sketching during those late-night business meetings you forced me to host. The line went dead. Audrey stood in the doorway, eyes wide. I think, she said slowly, we need to update the exhibition's security plan. My phone rang again. This time it was Philip. Xavier's cousin Deacon is trying to reach you. Says it's about a red sketchbook. My heart stopped. Put him through. Marissa? Deacon's voice was slurred. How did you know about the Belize accounts? The ones from 2016? I gripped the phone tighter. Those accounts weren't in any of my saved sketchbooks. They were only in the missing red one. Where did you see those accounts, Deacon? In your little book of secrets. He laughed bitterly. Found it years ago, thought it was nonsense. Until now. Want to know what else I found? The doorbell rang again. This time it was Zara, carrying a stack of legal documents. The FBI wants to talk to you, she announced. As a witness, not a suspect. They're particularly interested in your artistic documentation of the Morgan Foundation's activities. Audrey was still staring at my artwork on her laptop. The museum board is meeting tomorrow. They want to know if you'll agree to a joint exhibition with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Apparently your coding system is unprecedented. I sat down, suddenly dizzy. 5 years of careful planning, of rebuilding my reputation, of waiting for the perfect moment, all accelerating faster than I'd expected. Mom? Olivia appeared with another drawing. I made this for Daddy. Can we send it to him? I looked at her artwork, innocent, pure, untouched by codes and secrets. Maybe we should wait, sweetheart. Daddy's going to be very busy for a while. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. The red book was insurance. Now it's leverage. Meet tonight? What do you want to do? Zara asked, watching me closely. I looked around the room. At Audrey with her forensics reports, at Olivia with her drawings, at the TV still showing the chaos at the Morgan Foundation. Everything was unraveling exactly as I'd planned, yet somehow faster and messier than I'd imagined. Now, I said, we make sure the truth comes out all at once. No more hiding. I turned to Audrey. Tell the museum yes. Show them everything. Everything? She asked. I nodded, thinking of the red sketchbook and its secrets. Almost everything. Some art needs the right moment to be revealed. And that moment was coming sooner than anyone expected. The gallery buzzed with Manhattan's elite, all gathered for the preview of my retrospective. Champagne flowed as Audrey led groups through the exhibition, explaining the groundbreaking intersection of art and forensic accounting in my work. Your early pieces are extraordinary, a critic gushed. The way you embedded those financial records. Lies! Edith's voice cut through the crowd. She stood at the entrance, designer dress slightly askew, eyes wild. These are my paintings. The room fell silent. Security moved forward, but I held up my hand. Hello, Edith. Lovely to see you breaking another restraining order. You stole my work, she snarled, stalking toward me. I painted those pieces. You just added your little codes later. Audrey stepped between us. Mrs. Morgan, we have extensive documentation proving— She was nothing, Edith spat. A nobody who married into our family and spent her days doodling while we built an empire. An empire of fraud, I said quietly, built on stolen charity funds and broken lives. The crowd murmured. Phones came out, recording. You can't prove anything, Edith hissed. I smiled, gesturing to the walls. I already have. Every transaction, every shell company, every donation that disappeared. It's all here. Has been for years. You just never bothered to look closely at the art you called worthless. Security, Audrey called. Please escort Mrs. Morgan out. Wait. A man stepped forward. Deacon, Xavier's cousin, looking decidedly more sober than during our phone call. Let her stay. She should see this. See what? Edith demanded. Deacon pulled out his phone, projected something onto the gallery's presentation screen. My missing red sketchbook appeared, pages flipping digitally. I found this years ago, he announced. Thought it was just pretty pictures. But last month, I showed it to a friend in forensic accounting. Want to know what he found, Aunt Edith? The color drained from her face. You wouldn't dare. The Belize accounts? He continued. The ones Xavier set up after embezzling from the Children's Hospital Fund? It's all here. Marissa documented everything. Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled notes. How did you know? Edith whispered, staring at me. About the accounts? You made me host your business dinners for years, I replied. Treated me like furniture while you discussed offshore transfers right in front of me. Did you think I was just sketching flowers? You'll regret this, she threatened, but her voice shook. Xavier's already talking to the FBI, Deacon cut in, trying to save himself, just like always. The gallery erupted in chaos. Reporters shouted questions. Critics huddled around my artwork with magnifying glasses. Edith stood frozen, watching her world crumble. Security, I said finally, please remove Mrs. Morgan and make sure she doesn't go near my daughter's school again. As they led her out, she turned back. I should have burned those sketchbooks when I had the chance. But you didn't, I replied. You threw them away, like you threw me away. Big mistake. After she was gone, Deacon approached me. I'm sorry it took me so long to come forward. I knew something was wrong, but family loyalty is complicated, I said. Thank you for doing the right thing now. My phone buzzed. Zara. FBI raiding Morgan Foundation offices. Xavier in custody. Olivia safe with me. You okay? Miss Shelton? Audrey appeared with a journalist. The Times wants to know. Was this revenge? Using art to expose fraud? I looked around the gallery, at my life's work, at the truth finally revealed, at the justice being served through brushstrokes and hidden codes. No, I said clearly, making sure the cameras caught every word. This was documentation. I saw crimes being committed and found a way to record them that couldn't be destroyed. That's not revenge. It's responsibility. And the missing sketchbook? Someone called out. Did you plan for that too? I met Deacon's eyes. He nodded slightly. Sometimes, I said, the truth finds its own way out, through unexpected allies and perfect timing. Later that night, after the gallery cleared, I stood alone with my artwork. Each piece told part of the story, not just of fraud and corruption, but of survival, of patience, of turning pain into power. My phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. You were right. Art speaks louder than words. X. I didn't respond. Instead, I took a photo of the empty gallery and sent it to Olivia with the message. Your turn now, baby. Paint your own story. Because in the end, that's what this was all about. Not just exposing the truth, but making sure my daughter grew up knowing that sometimes the quietest voices speak the loudest truths. Sometimes, all you need is a canvas and the courage to use it. They're selling everything, Deacon said, sliding a document across the cafe table. Properties, art collections, even the Aspen Lodge. Xavier's trying to move assets before they're frozen. I sipped my coffee, watching rain streak down the windows. And the foundation's accounts? Empty. Aunt Edith transferred what was left to accounts in Dubai last night. He leaned forward. But you knew about those accounts too, didn't you? They're in the red sketchbook. Show me. He pulled out the book, handling it carefully with gloved hands. I found it the day they threw out your art. It was raining, and I don't know why I took it. Maybe because Aunt Edith seemed so desperate to destroy it. I opened it to a page showing the Dubai skyline. Within the architectural details, I'd hidden account numbers and dates. How did you crack the code? I asked. I didn't. But after your exhibition opened, I showed it to a forensic accountant. He said your system was brilliant, hiding financial data in plain sight, using art elements as a cipher. My phone buzzed. Zara, federal agents want to move now. Give the word. Why are you really helping us, Deacon? I studied his face. The immunity deal? He laughed bitterly. I watched them destroy people for years. Charities, families, anyone who got in their way, including you. He pulled out his phone, showed me a news alert. They're hosting a charity gala tonight. One last grab for cash before it all falls apart. At the estate? Where else? Aunt Edith thinks she can still salvage their reputation. Xavier's invited half of Manhattan's elite. He hesitated. And Olivia. My hand tightened around my cup. He what? Called her school again. Said he's her father, has rights. I was already dialing Zara. Do it. Now. You sure? She asked. Once we move, there's no going back. They tried to take my daughter. Again. I met Deacon's eyes. You have everything ready? He nodded. The red book, the account records, everything's been copied to the FBI. They're just waiting for the right moment. The gala, I said. Let them have their last party. Hours later, I sat in Zara's car outside the Morgan estate, watching guests arrive in evening wear. News vans lined the street. The Morgan Foundation's charitable work was still headline material. Federal agents are in position. Philip's voice crackled through my earpiece. Deacon's inside with the evidence. Olivia's safe? I asked for the 10th time. At my house with my wife, Zara assured me, playing video games and completely unaware that her father's about to be arrested on national television. Inside the estate, I could see Edith holding court. Xavier charming donors. They looked untouchable, powerful, just like they had for years. Now? Philip asked. I thought of my art on the gallery walls, of my daughter's scared face when Edith tried to take her, of 8 years spent hiding truth in brushstrokes. Now, the raid happened fast. Federal agents swarmed the estate. News cameras rolled as Xavier was led out in handcuffs, Edith screaming about conspiracies and frame jobs. This is a mistake, she shrieked, catching sight of me. She fabricated everything. Those paintings are lies. The paintings, I said clearly, knowing the cameras would catch it, are just the beginning. Ask your son about the red sketchbook. Xavier's face went pale. You kept it? He asked Deacon. All these years? Someone had to tell the truth, Deacon replied. As they were led to separate cars, Edith turned to me one last time. You think you've won? You're still nothing. Just a woman who paints pretty pictures. No, I said. I'm an artist who learned to paint the truth, and now everyone sees it. My phone lit up with messages. Gallery owners, journalists, even a Pulitzer Committee member. But I only opened the one from Olivia. Can we paint together tomorrow, Mom? Later that night, after the news vans left and the guests had gone home, I stood in my old studio at the estate one last time. Empty frames lined the walls where my art had once hung, art they'd thrown away, thinking it worthless. Deacon appeared in the doorway. The FBI wants to talk to you tomorrow, about testifying. I nodded, touching one empty frame. Tell them I'll bring my sketchbooks. All of them. Was it worth the wait? He asked. 5 years of planning. I thought of Olivia, safe and free from their influence, of truth finally exposed, of art that spoke louder than their lies. Some masterpieces, I said, take time to complete. The courtroom fell silent as I took the stand, my sketchbook stacked neatly on the evidence table. Xavier wouldn't meet my eyes, but Edith glared from the defendant's bench, her designer outfit replaced by a plain gray suit. Please state your name for the record, the prosecutor said. Marissa Shelton. And your occupation? I'm an artist. A delusional child with crayons, Edith burst out. She fabricated everything. The judge banged his gavel. Mrs. Morgan, control yourself or you'll be removed. The prosecutor held up my red sketchbook. Miss Momke Shelton, can you explain how you documented the Morgan Foundation's financial activities? I leaned into the microphone. Each artwork contains encoded data, dates, amounts, account numbers. I used specific patterns and symbols to record transactions I witnessed during my marriage. Objection, Xavier's lawyer stood. This is speculation from an angry ex-wife. Overruled, the judge said. Continue. The prosecutor projected one of my sketches onto a screen. This drawing of the Bermuda Beach house. Can you explain the numerical sequences hidden in the architecture? The window patterns show wire transfers. Each line represents... She's lying, Edith shouted, standing up. Those are my paintings. I created them. The judge's gavel cracked again. Mrs. Morgan, this is your last warning. Show them, I said quietly, and show them the video. The prosecutor nodded, queuing up security footage from 5 years ago. The courtroom watched as Xavier and Edith threw my art onto the curb in the rain. If these were your paintings, Mrs. Morgan, the prosecutor asked, why did you throw them away? Edith's face contorted. Because they were worthless, just like her. Yet these worthless paintings now hang in major museums, the prosecutor continued, and their coded contents match exactly with financial records seized from your foundation's computers. Xavier finally looked up, meeting my eyes. I saw the moment he really realized, that I'd never been the naive artist he'd dismissed, that every time he'd mocked my childish hobby, I'd been documenting his crimes. The defense would like to request a recess, his lawyer said quickly. Denied, the judge replied. Continue, counselor. The prosecution methodically went through each piece of evidence. My artwork matched against bank records, witness testimonies, Deacon's sworn statement. The red sketchbook's contents were particularly damning. You ruined everything, Edith hissed during a brief recess. We gave you a life of luxury. You gave me a cage, I replied, but you forgot to check what I was drawing inside it. The jury took only 3 hours to reach a verdict. Guilty on all counts, fraud, money laundering, embezzlement from charities. As the judge read the sentences, 15 years for Xavier, 12 for Edith, I felt no triumph, only relief. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Ms. Shelton, The Atlantic is calling your case The Woman Who Painted a Fortune and a Fall. Any comment? Will you continue encoding financial data in your artwork? How does it feel to bring down one of New York's most powerful families? I held up my hand. I didn't bring them down. Their own actions did. I just made sure those actions couldn't be hidden anymore. Zara appeared, pushing through the crowd. Olivia's watching the news. She wants to talk to you. I stepped away, taking the phone. Hey, baby. You did it, Mom. They finally saw your pictures. Tears pricked my eyes. They sure did, sweetheart. Can we go home now? I want to paint something. Of course. No more courtrooms. No more secrets. Later that evening, the New York Times posted their headline, Art World Stunner, How One Woman's Coded Paintings Exposed a Multi-million-dollar Fraud. Audrey called from the Whitney. The exhibition is completely sold out. People are fascinated by the intersection of art and justice. We're adding extra security for the crowds. Good, I said, watching Olivia paint at her easel, because I have one more piece to unveil. The final evidence? No, I smiled. Just a painting of my daughter, creating art without fear or secrets. Sometimes the simplest truth is the most powerful. My phone buzzed with a text from Deacon. Aunt Edith's Dubai account's frozen. It's really over. I looked at my daughter, her face peaceful as she mixed colors, and thought about power. Not the kind that comes from money or influence, but the kind that comes from patience, from truth, from turning pain into purpose. Mom, Olivia held up her painting. Is this one good enough for a museum? I hugged her tight. Baby, it's perfect just the way it is. No codes needed. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living freely, creating openly, and letting your art speak its own truth. And this piece, I told the museum tour group, was the first one I created after the divorce. The painting showed a rain-soaked curb with scattered art supplies, but hidden within were the first codes that would eventually expose everything. "Mom," Olivia called from across the gallery, "come see what they did with my section." I excused myself and walked through the Whitney's packed halls to the Next Generation exhibit. There, displayed prominently, were my daughter's paintings, bright, fearless, and completely free of hidden meanings. "They put me next to your early works," she beamed. "The curator said it shows artistic evolution." Speaking of curators, Zara appeared, her pregnant belly leading the way. "Audrey's looking for you." "Something about a documentary crew," I groaned. "Another one?" "People are still fascinated by the story," she shrugged. "Art, justice, revenge. It's catnip for filmmakers." "It wasn't revenge," I corrected automatically. "It was truth," Olivia finished. "We know, Mom. You say it like every day." A familiar figure approached. Deacon, looking relaxed in a casual suit. He transformed his portion of the Morgan fortune into a whistleblower protection foundation. "Quite a turnout," he said, surveying the crowd, "though I noticed certain family members couldn't make it." "Hard to attend from federal prison," Zara smirked. "Have you heard from Philip?" I asked. Deacon shook his head. "Last I heard, he was consulting with art crime specialists in Switzerland. Something about other families with secrets hidden in plain sight." "Miss Shelton," a young reporter approached, "would you comment on rumors that other wealthy families are having their art collections examined for hidden codes?" "No comment," I said firmly, "but I will say this. Art has always revealed truth one way or another. I just made mine a bit more specific." "Mom," Olivia called again, "these people want to know if I use codes in my paintings too." I walked over to where my daughter stood with a group of art students. "What do you tell them?" She grinned. "That my art doesn't hide anything. It just shows what I want the world to see." "Perfect answer." Audrey hurried up, tablet in hand. "Marissa, you need to see this. The Morgan Estate auction just finished. Guess who bought the property?" I looked at the screen and laughed. A children's art therapy foundation had purchased it. They planned to turn it into a space for young artists from underprivileged backgrounds. "Karma really does paint in bold strokes," Zara mused. "Speaking of bold," Deacon nodded toward the entrance. A guard was stopping someone. Xavier's lawyer, clutching papers. Our eyes met across the gallery. He held up what looked like an appeal document, but I simply turned away. "Still trying?" Deacon asked quietly. "Let them," I replied. "The evidence isn't in papers or court files anymore. It's on these walls, in major collections around the world. They can't erase art that's already been seen." "Miss Shelton," a small girl tugged at my sleeve, "did you really hide secret messages in your paintings?" I knelt down to her level. "I hid the truth in my art because sometimes that's the only way to make people see it. But you know what's better." "What?" "Being able to paint exactly what you want, exactly how you want it. No hiding needed." She beamed and ran back to her school group. Olivia watched her go. "That was me once," she said thoughtfully. "Scared to show my real art." I hugged her close. "Not anymore." "Marissa?" Audrey called. "The documentary crew is ready. They want to film in front of the final account." I looked at my latest piece, a massive canvas showing a family's empire crumbling, but with hope growing through the cracks. No hidden codes, no secret messages, just truth, painted boldly. "Coming," I said. "Olivia, want to join me? Show them how art should be?" She grabbed her sketchbook, a normal one, filled with dreams instead of evidence. As we walked through the gallery, I saw our reflection in the glass, mother and daughter, artists both, neither of us hiding anymore. "One last question," the reporter called out. "Was it worth it? The waiting, the planning, the risk?" I looked at Olivia, sketching freely. At Zara, protecting others with the same laws that had failed to protect me. At Deacon, transforming his family's poison into medicine for whistleblowers. At my art on the walls, no longer screaming in code, but singing in the open. Truth is always worth it, I said. Sometimes you just have to find the right way to make it beautiful. Because in the end, that's what art does. It takes what's hidden and makes it seen, what's broken and makes it whole. Not through revenge or justice, but through the simple, unstoppable power of showing the world exactly what needs to be seen.